On this Tuesday morning, I'd like to reflect on the words fear and the word safety. It's partly because here in the UK, when the Prime Minister addressed the nation on Sunday evening, those words featured quite heavily. The Prime Minister's statement is in the context of a very, very incremental opening up of things following on from the lockdown. Some of us found it deeply frustrating, and others of us found it too much. And as I said yesterday, we need to act with love and kindness, whatever people felt about these things. And wherever you are in your country watching this, we need to act with kindness to people who have different views. The background is that from the beginning here in the UK, we've been calling this a war on the virus. And of course, we know that the first casualty of war is the truth. And so the challenge for Christians and everyone of thoughtful goodwill is to examine our statements from our leaders very carefully indeed, to challenge not just the things that are said, but the presuppositions that lie behind them. And there was tons of that to examine in our Prime Minister's speech, and careful people will want to think through the reality of what was said on that occasion. But I'm focusing now, and I want to talk about some words of Jesus about faith and fear, on the fact that he talked about people are frightened of the virus, but they're also frightened of the future, people for their future for their family and children and friends, and clearly both those fears are present in society, indeed in all societies in the world today affected by COVID-19. Unions are talking about how they don't want people to go back to work until it's safe. Teachers and schools don't want to open until it's safe for teachers and pupils, and to some extent you feel sympathy with that, though there is a challenge here. And that is, it's never going to be safe. And we just need to face the reality of that. A vaccine may be a year, 2 years, 10 years away. It's perfectly possible we'll never have a vaccine for this. So the truth is, we are going to have to open society up to live not without COVID-19, but with it in society as a whole. And we've got to work out how to live with this disease. Unfortunately, despite all the project fear and the panic and the hysteria around it, apart from a very, very small number of people, this disease is going to be no symptoms at all, or going to be fairly mild, only for a very sad, very, very, very small minority. In Britain, the average age of those who've died is over 80, and they've usually got other comorbidities as well. And so it seems to be pretty hyped in terms of what disease it is. No wonder people are afraid. The government's propaganda has been brilliant in convincing people they should be scared. Well, how are we going to get out of lockdown if we're all scared of doing anything? Here's some words of Jesus aimed at those of us who are his followers. And it's in Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, in this case of a virus that kills a very, very, very small percentage of people, but rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both the soul and the body in hell. Quite dramatic verses there, being afraid about our spiritual lives, not just our physical lives. And then this lovely phrase, even the hairs of your head are numbered. Do you know that? That's how much God loves you and cares for you. And probably there are a lot more hairs on your head because of lockdown if you haven't been able to get your hair cut. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them falls to the ground apart from the will of your Father. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. I love this because we are entering a phase where lockdown rules are becoming less clear, and in an absence of clarity through transition, there's often fear. And we Christians need to be modelling an absence of fear, a sense of victory. Not that we won't be affected, not that God promises we won't catch corona now or in the future, or any other disease for that matter, but that we are instructed to live confident in God's gracious, protecting power in our lives, that he loves us, every hair on our head he loves, more than the sparrows. So know you're loved and be confident in God, because what matters is to live every day in victory and joy and success. You know, they say the brave only die once, cowards die 1,000 times. So if we want to live life to the full, we can't live in fear. We can't let it dominate our lives. If we do, we'll be miserable, discouraged and depressed people. So let's take the words of Jesus seriously from Matthew 10. And today, whatever the news throws at us, we will not be afraid.